Let me just make sure we're on all the platforms. Come say what up in the comment section below. I know we're streaming on the Facebooks. How you guys all doing today in my Facebook group? I know we're also live on YouTube as well. And if you guys are seeing this on the Instagrams, come say what up in the comment section below. I got a cool training for you guys today. This is more going to be, we are live. Hey, you guys all doing today? Come say what up in the comment section below. Yeah, buddy. We on Facebook, we on the YouTubes, and we on the Instagrams. Today we're going to be talking about a cool concept that I call. So what I'm going to actually do is see if I can copy and paste this. So I'm going to put, rather than me go through it, because I find it always gets complicated whenever I do this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to put the actual Google Doc in the comment section below. So specifically in my Facebook group. Hey, what's up, Steve? How you guys all doing? What's up, Chris? What's up? What's up, everybody? How's it going? So I'm going to put the Google Doc down below. If you guys can access it, great. Maybe I'll put it into like the comment section somewhere else. Let me know if you guys can access it. So for everybody, if you're not in my Facebook group, come to my Facebook group. It's called Master Your Coaching Business Facebook community. I'm going to put it under the post I made today as well, so you guys can go and access it. But I'm going to be covering, what I call the foundations of running a coaching business with staff. So I don't know where you're at within your coaching journey, but I know for myself, I've gone from idea man, then I've gone from launching man to actually launching a coaching business, right? And then from there, knowing how to scale clients. So not just getting 1 or 2 clients, but being able to get multiple and plus and plus and plus. And then knowing how to embed different individuals within the business to actually help me grow it and scale it. So I'm learning how to delegate certain tasks. So if you guys are excited about that, I don't know where you're at in your coaching journey, but I'm going to do on this interview on this training is I'm going to share with you guys how I run my coaching business and the different individual, the different roles, the different seats on the bus that I have to help me actually run this thing. You know, one thing that I'm realizing, which is awesome, is as much as I am the face of this business, because that's how I started this thing, I'm realizing that this business is becoming, I wouldn't say less of just me, but basically less and less of Daniel, and more and more building an actual team, an actual foundation, an actual company, right? Whether it's Devin in client success and operations, right? Whether it's Stefano in appointment setting, whether it's Meg who's in sales, whether it's my agency who's helping me run ads, or whether it's our content team who's the one, whether it's recording the videos, editing the videos, the reels, posting, right? Whether it's our copywriter, there's different elements of our actual coaching business. So if you guys are excited to learn, show some love below. Tell me that you guys are excited to learn this stuff. And if so, I'm going to start dropping some fire for you. And so this is going to be more of a higher level conversation for a lot of you guys, depending on where you're currently at. So if you're ready, drop some love below. It helps with the actual algorithm. Post down below, and then without further ado, let's get into it, peeps. So this is what I call the foundations of running a coaching business with staff. So you guys can click on the link down below to go and see the actual Google Doc. With that being said, let's get into it. So every time I actually think about what problem do I have within the business, I always think of these 6 flows of how I operate. There's 6 main flows. The first flow is what I call traffic. Let me see if I can actually share my screen. Let me see if I can do this. So let me see if you guys can see this right here. And so I'm going to cover this right here. So let me just make sure that I'm actually showing my screen. I know sometimes a little bit of a lag, but there's 6 main flows of how I operate. So the first flow is traffic. So this is basically growing an actual community. So whether it's organic or whether it's paid ads. Let me just make sure I'm doing this properly. So entire screen, share, and then boom. Awesome. So the first one is traffic. Okay. So that's me sharing, that's, yeah, perfect. Okay. There we go right there. Perfect. Okay. Okay. The first one is traffic. So basically that is either growing it organically or growing it with paid ads. Okay. The second flow is content. Okay. So that's actually posting content on different platforms, whether it's posting it on Facebook, posting it on email, Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, or any other platform. Okay. The next platform or the next flow is appointment setting. So this is either appointment setting. So there's actually booking calls of basically what I would call it. So setting or booking calls. Okay. So this is basically either booking calls through appointment setting, okay, with an actual setter, or organic, or through ads. So maybe through a YouTube video, or maybe through a I don't know, right? Through an email that we did. Okay. The next one is sales. So that's actually booking calls. Here, let me just say booking calls. Perfect. Okay. So sales actually, there's a triage closer and then a closer. Okay. Then we have client fulfillment. So that's actually having someone whose main job and role is to ensure that our clients are getting the accountability, the support that they need to move through the actual process. Is this making sense, guys, down below? Drop some love. This is making sense. Cool. Then number 6 is, I call this more of the project manager, the person who is responsible for projects, things of that nature. Okay. Now, I always refer to these 6 to see what lever needs the most attention in the business right now. Okay. Does that make sense? So whenever I think about it, I go, okay, so what is the biggest thing that the business needs right now? So does it need to, do I need to focus on traffic and growing it organically or with paid ads? Okay. Let me actually just do this, or paid ads. Okay. Does the business need more help with content? So like posting on Facebook, posting on YouTube, okay, posting an email, okay. Does the business need more attention with booking calls, right? So do we need to hire another appointment setter? Do we need to actually have better content where, like for example, right before this this live, we just booked a call through YouTube, okay? Or so someone was watching our YouTube videos and they booked a call. Or do we have to like dial in the ads? And then sales, right? So for our sales call, because we sell more of a high ticket product, we are basically having, usually about, ideally sometimes just one call, but sometimes it's 2 calls or it's 3 calls. So I'll have someone who's more of a triage closer take that call, and then I'll get into depth. And then client fulfillment, which is more of someone who is managing the actual clients, the support, the accountability that's needed for them to actually go through our process. Okay. Then the final thing is actually having a project manager. Okay. Is it making sense, guys? Love it. Okay. So now here are the teams and seats within our organization. Okay. So the first thing is thing is traffic. So what I have specifically, okay, as I'm getting a call right now, the first thing that I have right now is an ad agency. So for myself, there's actually 2 things of how we actually grow our traffic. So just so you guys know, when it comes to traffic is actually growing a Facebook group. So getting more people into the community is a form of traffic. Okay. This could be a setter. Okay. Where, we're sending invites to join, to grow our Facebook group, or we're running ads to basically grow our group. So if you haven't seen our ads before, we offer an 8-step guide, and then basically people click on that guide. Once they click on the guide, then they'll say, hey, come join our free community to learn more and get more access to more resources. Okay. So that is a form of traffic. Traffic is, in other words, another word is basically eyeballs. Okay. So are you growing the amount of eyeballs that are looking at your stuff? Okay. Does that make sense, guys? So eyeballs could be in the form of growing an actual community, or it could be running ads where someone is then looking at your stuff and then getting interested. So every single day, the goal is, are we growing our leads list? Okay. So the leads list could be in the form of a Facebook group, could be in the form of an email list. Okay. Could be in the form of a subscriber base, could be in the form of a podcast. There's many different ways, but basically what you're doing is you're growing the traffic. Okay. And the amount of eyeballs that are looking at your stuff. Okay. Then we go to number two. So number two is more content. So this is where you're posting stuff on Facebook. You're posting stuff, for email, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, podcast, right? So, and note, I want to make a big note here that majority, if not all of our sales comes from our Facebook group. Now we use other platforms to help the main beast, which in my eyes is Facebook. Okay. But this is where we're posting content and we're nurturing an audience with our platforms. So for me, it goes, okay, great. Are we posting? What is our schedule on? Because now that we have this, new eyeballs and traffic and new people seeing our stuff, okay, then what we want to do is we want to grow we want to actually nurture the audience. So what I have is I'll record the content, and then I'll give it to an agency to actually edit it. Okay. Make additions to it. And then and then if we need a copywriter to either write our emails or create captions, and then we'll have a social media manager to actually post it. Okay. So for me, I have, we obviously have an appointment setter. Like if I look at different seats, we have a setter who's helping grow the Facebook group with invites, but we also run traffic with a media buying team. Okay, to run ads to it. The second thing is we have our content. Okay, so this is our agency who's editing, and then we have a social media manager who's actually posting it. And so now we have our content team. Okay, and I want to make this very clear. Majority, if not all of our sales comes from our Facebook group. So the main beast is Facebook, and we use these other platforms to support the main thing, which is the community, which is the Facebook community. Okay. Then we go into setting. This is appointment setting. So appointment setting is we have Stefano. Okay, thank you for the love, Mr. Stefano. Where basically he is our setter manager, and so he has a team underneath him. And so the DM setter, his job is to do one thing. Okay, is to book calls. Okay, so I had a conversation with Stefano at the beginning of this month, and I say, hey, what is the goal for this month? Right. So if the goal is, hey, we did 90 or 70 to 80 book calls last month, great. We aim for 120, 130, 150 book calls this month. And so this is the third, seat or the third flow in the business. So we have traffic, which is we're growing the eyeballs. 2, which is we're posting content to actually provide value to the eyeballs. Then we go into the third one, which is appointment setting, which is basically booking calls. And so we have a DM setter manager, okay? We have a setter manager. So let me actually write this, right? So we have an appointment setting manager. And then we have 2 basically ways to book calls more, through an actual individual. This could be in the form of either a DM. So some of you guys have joined our Facebook group, and then we've started a conversation with you and blah, blah, blah. And we go from there. Or what we have as well is we have a call setter. So every time someone actually opts into one of our ads, we'll have someone actually call these leads. Okay. Is this making sense, guys? Then what we're also doing is we're saying, okay, how else can we book calls? We can book calls through, organic ways. So like I said before, we booked a call recently through a YouTube video, right? We'll book calls through an email, right? We'll also run paid ads where if someone opts into one of our funnels, we'll give them the actual booking link right away. And so this is another way to actually book calls. So in running a business, right? So as a coach, let me actually write this right here. A coach, right? Your main 2 things is number 1, book calls and close calls. So whenever we do an audit, okay, so let me just make this big so you guys can see what I'm saying here. Okay. So if I were to audit, I'm going to always audit these 2 things. Okay. So I'm always going to ask, hey, John, how many book calls did you do in the month of February? Right. And then I would say, hey, John, cool. So you booked 50 calls. Love it. Now, if you're not booking any calls, well, we got to fix that. Well, how do we fix that? Well, that's where we focus on traffic. Okay. And then we focus on content. Then from there, we have to make sure that we have a great team that is, once we have the traffic and content dialed in, the next thing we want to do if you guys are, business savvy or, not to speak too high level, but this is basically all of your marketing aspect. So we're growing the marketing first. So these 2 are more sales. Okay. And then these 2 are more back end. So whenever we're growing a business, we're always focusing on marketing first, making sure that the marketing is dialed in. Then from there, then what we want to do is we want to build the actual sales team. And then obviously you could do it simultaneously, but this is the way to do it. And then you have your actual back end to make sure fulfillment and people are happy. Is this making sense, guys? So going back to it, we have traffic and content dialed in. We have our marketing dialed in. Then from there, we're now talking about setting. So we have an actual setting team where their main goal is to book calls for the company, right? So for example, right now we have one DM setter and one call setter. We've had more before, and we'll kind of go through these highs and lows of different setters, right? But the goal here with number 3 is the dial is how do we increase more book calls than we did before? Okay. How do we grow the amount of book calls within our company? Now, again, I'm talking from a high ticket coaching sales point, right? Running a coaching offer, right? Not about a low ticket offer, but specifically for majority of people in this community, I'm going to say you are a coach and you're running a coaching offer. Okay. Then from there, we move into sales. So sales is more of where now that we have, let's say we have 20 book calls, right? The goal is to get to obviously 40 or 50 or 60 or even 100 book calls, right? That is the goal for everybody. And then basically, because we have so much volume, what we have now is actually a trial or what we call a triage closer. Okay, so if you guys have booked a call recently with our team, you're most likely going to book a call with Meg. Okay, and then basically, if Meg then needs help, she's going to book a second call with me. If, say, for example, someone has a lot of questions, or they're asking questions above what she understands, but she's really good as well. And so now what the fourth department is the sales department. So again, if we look at this from the beginning, and this is how everyone's eyes should be looking at their business, you should be asking yourself these questions. What is my traffic right now? Meaning, like, am I growing my group? Am I growing the amount of eyeballs that are looking at my thing? The second thing is then we move over to content. Okay. So are we growing the amount of content? Are we marketing? Are we sharing our story? Are we doing presentations and videos and, short form content, long form content, right? Then once we move over to the next phase, which is more of the setting and the sales phase. So appointment setting is booking calls, and sales phase would be more of enrolling clients. Okay. This would be more of like someone is saying yes, right? To actually enroll into the program. And as you scale with more volume, even for myself, as the person running the show, there's no way I could take 20, 30, 40, 50 calls and then also run the rest of the business at the same time. So we have a sales department that is taking the initial calls. And then sometimes Meg will go, hey, Dan, can you talk to this individual? They have more questions. No problem at all. Is this making sense, guys? Okay. Then we go to the fifth flow. So for a lot of people that are jumping on right now, I always talk about the 6 flows of how I run my business. The 6 flows. The first flow is traffic. The second flow is content. The third flow is setting, which is booking calls. Fourth flow is sales. Fifth flow is client fulfillment, client success. And the sixth flow is like the projects that are needed to get done within the business. Okay, guys? So going back to it, so we've covered traffic and content, which is marketing. Then we covered sales, appointment setting and sales. Then we go over to client fulfillment. So client fulfillment is more of, as you start to build an actual Rolodex or, a client portfolio, obviously, you as a coach can't just handle everyone, right? It all depends on how you build out your actual, business. I think for a lot of people, they just solely rely on one-on-one coaching, and the whole business is relied on them from the content, from the sales, from the appointment setting, from the traffic, from the client fulfillment. And what happens is you end up bottlenecking yourself. So I'm trying to show you a way of building it in a way where you understand the different departments of your business, and then you can then delegate them to different individuals. So it's not all just relied on you. And trust me, I've been learning of what I need to do to actually not bottleneck myself within my entire business. Okay. Hopefully this is making sense, everybody. Okay. Then we go into number 5, which is client success, where basically me and Devin, okay, me and Devin have a relationship where I'm more in the front end and he handles more of the back end. Okay. So for myself, because again, I have to delegate myself to different departments. I am someone who's more going to be the front end of the business. Devin, if you guys have met Devin's is a genius at what he does, but he handles more of the back end of our company. So the back end, Devin is more or less responsible for ensuring clients are given the amount of support, accountability needed to move through the process of our coaching, of the Master Your Coaching program. Okay, guys? Does that make sense? So what Devin does, Devin is ensuring that the people are getting the support and accountability needed to move through our process. So that's what a real client success manager is. So we have the roadmap of our whole business, right? We have the roadmap of people entering the program, of all the modules, all the workbooks, all the assignments, all the templates. And then what Devin's job for our business is, and this is where you will hire a client success manager for yourself down the road as you build and scale your company. You have someone who is basically holding the hand of the individual through the actual process. Now, you might be asking, well, they're never going to be as good as you. Sure. Whatever excuse that you want to give, what I've realized is, especially because Devin's been in this role for a while now, he's actually, I would even say he's probably even better than me now. And it's funny because I'll go back to project or to Flow 6. What I've realized is I'm now building a business where the different departments within the company, these people are actually better than me at doing the thing. It's crazy, right? Like my media buying team is better than me at running ads. Our content team, they're better than me at where the content should go. Our setting team, I can guarantee my appointment setter, Stefano, if you got questions, I'm going to give you the overall macro level, but Stefano is better than me at appointment setting and booking calls. And it's funny because what the Master Your Coaching business is not just the Daniel show. Oh, Daniel's so knowledgeable. And I actually think this is the problem with a lot of coaches out there. What happens is they build the business all around them and their genius, that they don't actually build different roles within an organization where other people can actually grow and become better at it. Like I can see Meg is becoming better than me at sales because she's doing it more. She understands more. She's having more conversations than I am. And so Devin, going back to client fulfillment, Devin is becoming a better client success manager than I would. And it's funny because Devin is actually going through our process and our program with a lot of different people, he actually is starting to refine the program and saying, look, you're missing this in the actual modules. You're missing this in the actual module. This video needs to get created. This is irrelevant, because he's going through with so many people. So I've now built the business where it's not solely reliant just on me and my teachings, but there's a whole company. There's not just one big expert, there's a ton of experts. Does that make sense, guys? Is this making sense? Very cool. So then we go into number 6, which is the project manager. So the project manager is basically where, if you guys ever heard of the software called Airtable, everything is actually hosted on Airtable. Okay. So Airtable is more of like a project management software, where basically every time we have a project, every time we have an idea, every time we have something that we have to do, and this could be anywhere from ranging from cleaning up the Google Drive, let's just say, right? Fixing up a website or building a website, building lead magnets like a PDF, building a hiring funnel. We're hiring new setters. Okay. We're hiring new salespeople, updating contracts, right? Creating automations from a tech level, email flows, updating socials. So we now have a project team where that team solely is focused on building projects for the business or getting projects done within the business. So Holly is the one really spearheading it. But then we have Alessia, who's doing other aspects, and Devin as well doing other aspects. And now what we have is a business where there's not just one expert. You have multiple experts. And this is a big thing that I've also realized too, is you can't just be a coach where you're a genius with a ton of helpers. A good CEO, a good coach that wants to build a business doesn't build a company just solely reliant on them, where they're the only genius. They're the only expert. They are guiding the ship. But once you start to build a company of different people within an organization, you start to actually build a system of experts who are refining it and be like, you know what? I think we need to update the sales or the appointment setting script like this. You know what? I think we need to update our sales calls like this. Now, again, it's not making a completely different shift and it has to be backed up by results. But what you do is you start to build an actual organization. And for so long, a lot of my journey has been based on, well, Daniel runs the ads. Daniel creates the content. Daniel books the calls. Daniel runs the sales, calls. Daniel does all the one-on-one coaching calls with the clients. Daniel completes all the projects. And I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but what happens is the goal of the goal of building a business is where you can build something that isn't solely reliant on you. But for so many people, because we're doing everything, we get so exhausted that everything goes to crap. And so what I'm trying to do here is paint you a picture of a few things. Number one, how my mind works. So whenever I ask myself, okay, what does the business need right now? Right? What does the business need? Well, does the business need help with traffic? Hey, maybe either we hire someone new for media buying or we implement new ways. Okay. Content. Hey, the content is getting dry. Maybe we have to try something else. Maybe we have to try a different type of reel. Maybe we have to try a different type of email. Maybe we have to try a different type of video. Maybe we have to change the way we're our posting schedule, right? For setting, right? How do we go from 20 book calls a week to 40 or 50 or 100 book calls a week? What needs to get done? For sales, how do we have a higher close rate? Well, what do we need to do to get maybe higher quality book calls? Or how can we refine the actual salesperson to become better? Maybe we got to implement a follow-up system that works better. Client fulfillment, how do we make sure clients are happy and are getting results? Not faster, but they're getting more consistent results, right? Things are more dialed in. Projects, what projects are needed? And so for me, whenever I look at the business, you go, okay, well, Daniel, if you give everything away, what do you do? Well, my job is to actually build the whole organization, right? So the thought process goes working in the business and then working on the business, right? And so if you're in the beginning phases, yeah, you have to work in the business. You have to grow the eyeballs and the traffic and the group of the Facebook, right? Or the members in the Facebook group. You have to grow your content and make it better and post and create it. You have to be the ones booking calls and make sure everyone's booking calls. You have to make sure sales are being closed and fulfillment's being done. And that's working in the business. But you have to get to a place sooner or later where you start to design a organization where you can work on the business, right? Because then once you start to delegate all these things out, you have to do the things that only you could do. So for me, because we run an education business and a lot of it is around my story and my brand, there's only certain things that I can do. So I need to be the one making the content, right? I need to be the one maybe creating new products or creating new products or designing new things or getting maybe our name out there on maybe new platforms per se, right? And so for me, it always goes, okay, what does the business need right now? And so for some of you, maybe the business needs right now is you got to get more dialed in with booking calls, right? Maybe you need to get dialed in with actually having better content that nurtures a client to then make a decision. Maybe you need to be focused on actually hiring yourself a client success manager so they can handle all of the clients so you could focus on other aspects of the business. But one thing that I do know, and it's a trap for a lot of people, is you get so caught up in doing everything, right? I talked to a lot of these coaches and consultants. Like, I'm so exhausted with so much work that I don't have time for marketing. Well, it's like, man, that's a problem. Because if all of you're doing is doing one-on-one coaching with everyone and you're mainly just basing, your business on referrals, well, now you're going to be in trouble to actually grow the business. And the goal of building a business is where it's not solely reliant on you. But what happens is now you're the boss and you're the employee. So it's building an organization where experts can then rise and then own the role, refine the role, and make it better. And then as the CEO, as the actual founder, you can have expectations and everything is data driven and numbers. So I can see, are we increasing the amount of people joining the Facebook group? Are we getting a lower cost per lead? Is the content performing better than before? Everything is numbers. Are we booking more calls than the week before? Are we closing more calls than what we did before? Right? Are the clients happy and satisfied and moving forward and getting what they need to get done? Right? Are projects of priority completing to improve the rest of the business? Is this making sense, guys? Is this helpful so far? So again, with the 6 flows, number 1, we have traffic, okay? Getting more eyeballs, more people joining either your Facebook group, your email list, or whatever. Second is content, creating higher level content that actually nurtures people to want to do business with you, trust you as an expert in the field, okay? Number 3, setting, right? Are you booking more calls? Number 4, are you closing more calls? Okay. 5, client fulfillment. Okay. Okay. So, we're somewhat, all the clients are happy moving forward. And then 6 would be projects. Our projects getting complete. Okay. Share. If you guys have any questions, be sure to share down below. Okay. Now, the final aspect is this. Okay. The question goes like this. Well, thank you for all this, Daniel. Where you should start, which is basically hiring and delegating. Where do I start? Where do I go? What do I do first? Thank you for all this, but where do I go first? Okay. So I'll tell you what worked for me, and then we can kind of talk back and forth if you guys have questions. So my first real hire was basically, if I have to go back in time to when I first began, I had someone help me with, really, it was like someone to help me with the back end. So for me, and you have to understand your personality, my first real hire was more of someone to help with the back end. Okay. So the back end of my business. So the back end of my business was like maybe helping with tech, helping with social media, right? So maybe this is more like maybe like posting, right? Someone who's more organized, right? To help with like maybe like client success, right? Right? Maybe more admin, things of that nature, right? So I can focus on the front end of the business and someone else can help me with maybe more of the back end stuff. So maybe like, sure, maybe posting social media would be more of the front end, but it's part of like, let me just do my thing from a appointment setting or a sales point of view. And you have someone else that can help with the other aspects. As the face of the business, your job should be focused on marketing and sales. You should be able to have a team help you with the other aspects. Okay. Now, as I started to grow, so Devin was my first, Devin, I would say, was my first real hire. Okay. And what Devin was for me was he did everything that wasn't worth my time at the highest level. Right. So that was it. It's almost like, what can I delegate? Well, can I delegate tech work? Can I delegate, I don't know, like posting content, admin stuff, contracts, right? And so it goes back to the concept of visionary and integrator, right? Devin initially for me was more of like an integrator. Hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring in revenue for the business, grow the actual company. I need you to help me with things on the back end that wasn't worth my time. Now, for myself right now, there's 2 main aspects that helped me really grow, which was an appointment setter and someone to help with back end obligations. So the back end obligation was like operations, tech, and fulfillment, right? Making sure clients are happy and moving forward and everyone was taken care of. Okay. Then what I also hired was an appointment setter. This is where someone can help me book calls, right? So I can focus on more sales calls and more marketing, right? Creating videos and content. Whereas someone who's an appointment setter can just focus on booking calls. So there was someone who was an appointment setter and someone who's helping with back-end obligations. So usually the face of the business has the obligation, again, of marketing and sales. Okay. So building a team where they can handle the tasks outside of that is the goal. Is this making sense, guys? So you're basically building an organization where your job is to focus on bringing in new clients, bringing in new revenue, until your marketing is so good that you can start to delegate that to someone else. Now, it's going to take a lot of training, a lot of education, a lot of helping, but that is basically the idea. Here, let me go back over here. Okay, that is basically the idea. Okay, and so for you, you have to understand, where are you currently at on your journey, right? Do you need help with, growing, getting more eyeballs into your community? Do you need help with getting more, booking more calls? Do you need help with, closing sales? Where does the business need you in the highest attention? So for me, uh, the thing that needed the most attention was to make sure that we're enrolling new clients. And so a lot of my attention goes into there. And then from there, I could build a business where I can delegate the other tasks to someone else, right? So for me, I always ask, I go, okay, do I need to do this? If the answer is no, I'm gonna give it to someone else. So for example, I learned how to run ads, right? And here's a big caveat. Here's a big, I wouldn't say caveat, but here's a big thing to just be aware of. I learned these things before I gave them to someone else. So for example, I didn't just hire a media buying team without me understanding how ads work and run, right? I didn't hire a content team. I didn't hire a content team or someone to help with editing, or not that I'm a pro editor or writing, but I had a good idea of how I want my content to look like. I didn't hire an appointment setter until I learned how to understand the frameworks of booking calls and then closing calls. I see this with a lot of people is they don't actually understand the fundamentals, and they go, I just want to hire someone so they can take it over for me. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to learn the thing yourself. You don't have to be perfect or amazing at it, but if you're in a startup position, if you're trying to grow it, your chapter that you're in is to master these things, is to learn these things. So when you delegate it to someone else, you know what you're looking for. So for example, let's just take ads, for example. You say, Daniel, it can be cheaper if you could just run the ads yourself. I get that. But I think it's better for someone else who has a higher level expertise to run it than I do. Then for them to do it and me to spend, different energy on different aspects of the company, of the business. So perfect media buying team, but I know how to run ads. So I know, hey, that's a high cost per lead. Hey, why don't we try this type of ad? Hey, why don't we try this type of audience? Hey, here is 4 headlines and 4 ads, copy on an ads. Why don't we go try these things out? Or hey, here's a good creative that has worked for me before. Why don't we go try that out? Okay. When we look at content, I know what good copywriting is and what bad copywriting is. Now, at the same time, let's say, for example, we're running an email. I can look at click-through rate and open rate. That's a good headline. That's a good piece of copy. These emails usually book calls for us. So let's do more of that. Rather than, I'm just going to hire a content team, they're going to do it all for me. No, right? Look at setting. I'm not just going to be like, hey, and I've seen this with a lot of people. I don't know how to book calls. I'm just going to hire a setter who got a certification, and they're going to book calls for me. You have the blind leading the blind. But I thought he or she has a certification. Who cares? Your business runs your business is going to run different than maybe what they learned. So if you don't have it dialed in, you can't delegate it. For sales, oh my goodness. Hey, I've never closed a sale. I'm just going to hire a sales rep to go close it for me. What? Right? Fulfillment. I'm going to build the course and have someone else put them through it. And so for me, or projects, I'm going to show you how, because for me, if you hire a quote unquote project manager, someone focused on getting projects done, unless they have a background of experience, you have to be the one holding their hand and guiding them. Is this making sense, guys? So for you, what you have to understand is this. There's going to be different elements of your business. There's going to be different chapters of you and your business. But for me right now, because I've mastered it, I'm just kidding, right? It's not that I've mastered all departments, but I have a good grasp of running ads, traffic, growing the group, 2, content, 3, appointment setting, 4, sales, 5, client fulfillment, 6, projects. I have a good grasp because I've done it myself. Now I can get to a place where I can delegate that to someone else, and I can be patient. I can understand what they're going through. But I'm at a place right now where that's where a lot of what I'm doing is I'm reading books on how to become a CEO, how to grow an organization, because for a lot of my business career has been, I do everything. We in the book that I was reading, it's called Good to Great. It's about, being a genius with 1,000 helpers. A lot of my coaching career has been me being the genius with 1,000 helpers. And, it's funny because in the book they talk about how that can work. But then what happens is once the genius, or whatever you want to call that person, or the individual that everyone relies on, once that person leaves, everyone doesn't know what to do. And so a lot of what I'm trying to do, and we're trying to do within our organization, is build something in a way where it's not fully relied upon myself. And instead of me being the sole genius of what should we do, we're doing this, right? The company builds a bunch of experts in their field. We have an expert with running ads. We have an expert with content. We have an expert with booking calls. We have an expert salesperson. We have an expert client success manager. We have an expert project manager. And then from there, I can then take a step back and say, whoa, okay, let me look above and say what needs to get fixed next. And then every time I go, okay, so we have an organization that's running, what needs to get done now? Okay, you know what? We're putting all of our attention on learning how to book more calls. Okay, you know what? We're gonna put all of our attention with maybe building a better sales process. Okay, you know what? We're gonna put all of our attention with making sure maybe we can build a better ad funnel. You know what? Maybe we're gonna focus on a promotion with content, because that's really what it is. Think about most things within an organization usually fall within those 6 buckets. And they actually complement one another. So if you're like, well, Daniel, let's say I want to do a challenge. Where does that fall under? That falls under traffic and content. Hey, Daniel, you want to launch a new product. Where does that fall under? Traffic and content. So obviously you have to be building these products, but then once you have the product, it's growing, getting eyeballs on the product, running content, booking calls, closing the calls, fulfilling on it. So maybe you could do a step back of building the product, but having a rough idea of the product, right? Because if we start going down that road, well, what we do is we have to build a skeleton of a product, and then we have to get eyeballs on it, content to it, and then be able to close and sell people on that actual product. Right? But everything always falls under these 6 flows, and so every decision that I make is always going, okay, what does the business need now? What does the focus need? And then from there, it's not saying I need to go and do it, but building an expert who is great in that department, in that process. And then me as a business owner, CEO, is taking a step back and saying, okay, you got it. I can give you my guidance, but this is your thing. Because take the idea of the genius with 1,000 helpers. The person always wants to come in and just make a mess, chaotic. Let me do it. Let me do it. But then what happens is you don't build a bunch of experts. And so I'm hoping this is making sense. I hope this is clear. I'm hoping this is opening up some people's eyes. Now you're like, but Daniel, I'm just starting my coaching journey right now. It's fine. Doesn't matter. I've been there. I'm trying to show you how it looks like when you start to build out everything. So what I want to do is I want to say, look, guys, I'm at chapter 15 right now. You might be at chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I'm telling you, when you start getting here, things get different, right? So you start to build it in that type of framework. Now, then we got to start talking about, finding the right people that are loyal, that are hardworking, and sometimes it's not always about being the smartest person. Maybe having a great work ethic, who's teachable, who's hungry, who's motivated, who's inspiring, who works with a level of integrity. There's all these different aspects, but it's depending on where you're at. You go from idea phase to then launching the idea and getting actual feedback that people want to actually buy the thing, scaling the thing, and then delegating it with people. So you build an expert in different departments. And whenever people talk about, oh, I live the laptop, I wouldn't say laptop lifestyle, but I work 4 or 5 hours a week. Sure, someone can say that. But a lot of what it is because you build a system that isn't solely relied on the founder. It isn't solely relied on you. It is funny because you would think I'm working less. And it's not about working less or working more. It's about working smart. It's about, can I take every single sales call? Can I take every one-on-one coaching call? Can I run every single ad? Can I post every piece of content? Can I book it? Of course I can. But that is not what's needed to actually grow a company to maybe the size that I want to build it, or build it in a way where it's not solely reliant on me. It's really cool now building a team, because I've built like a sales team before, but I've never built an actual company where there's different elements, and there's legal, and there's finance, and there's accounting, and all these different things. But when you do it right, it's a great it's a great game to play. It's a great, it's fun. You got to get creative. You got to try different things. It's all these different things. But it's realizing that this is the path. Now you might say, well, what should I do right now? Well, based on where you're currently at, have you sold your coaching programs before? Do you have a consistent flow? If you don't, we got to fix that first. We got to make that work. When I first began, I didn't have money to pay for payroll and pay for people within an organization. I hired interns. Hey, come help me build this online coaching business. This will be part of your resume, whether it's for marketing or operations or projects. I can't pay you anything, but I'm going to show you, and you're going to learn a ton of skills. You might say, well, who's out there? Dude, universities, colleges, students, they would love to work under something like this. And they might bring you better ideas than you thought yourself. But I'll tell you this game is crazy, but when you start to build a family, when you start to build an actual organization, it feels so much better, because a lot of business owners are like chickens with their heads cut off. They're just running in all different directions. And even for myself, it's almost like it's a drug to be busy. It's a drug to be like, oh, gotta do this. Okay, gotta do this. Okay, gotta do this. Okay, gotta do this. Okay, gotta do this. And I think it's great. And I think this is part of business career, but I'm realizing now of like, it's working hard is good, but it's not always the smart thing. And it's all about working smart. And so it's not about, well, I need to become the best appointment setter ever before I can pass it off to someone else. No, you learn it, you get good at it, you show that you make it work first. So for example, what you don't do is you have nothing on paper, you've never made a sale, and you go hire all these people. Well, you can do that. No one's stopping you. But you have to build it in a way where it's a viable process, a viable thing. And then you go and hire people for it. And so I don't know where you're at within your journey, but you make it viable first. You make it workable first. I don't like this. I don't like this quality, man. This is crazy. So anyway, I hope this was impactful. Hope this was helpful. Hope you guys learned a few things, but this is the idea here, is about building an actual organization, building an actual process. And then from there, you can make it better and better and better and better. And so that's my 2 cents today. We definitely got to work on this audio, on this quality. This quality is not the greatest. Maybe Restream isn't working anymore. But I hope you guys learned from this. I hope hopefully it was valuable. And we'll see you next week for another live training. Okay. Peace.